All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another rendition of the Nerd Out Podcast. Today, I got a little bit of a guest with me today because we got some pretty big news. So I got my friend Alex with me, and he's going to be joining me. Really big fan of the Megaman series because it's, the big, huge news that we got.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, first things first is that Mega Man 11 was actually announced. That's a huge deal because Mega Man's pretty much been dead for years now. The last Mega Man game that we actually had was in Mega Man 10, and that was, at least 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I think most everyone that was watching that stream that Capcom had on their Twitch channel went in expecting nothing. And I was right there with them. I definitely was not expecting a brand new game. Just because it's Capcom, so...
Yeah,
they really have not treated the series well over the past 7 years. So.
No, honestly, I the biggest thing that I thought they were going to announce was Legacy Collection 1 and 2. So it was the two games combined, and I was just gonna, oh my god, I was gonna flip shit because those should have been combined already anyway.
Yeah, yep. And I was kind of expecting an X Collection as well, but that was really the extent of what I was hoping to get out of it, But yeah, it's awesome. We're actually getting a new Mega Man game, and it's coming out really less than a year, since it's late next year that they say it's going to come out.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it didn't come out before December, so...
Well, I mean, they have to at least get it by holiday time. If they don't get it by holiday release, then that's going to miss out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool, though, that, a lot of the footage that they've shown looks really good. I mean, I know you commented that the running animation looks kind of off.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like he's floating. It's not really like like his steps don't actually match the speed he's moving.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he has a stick up his butt. Yeah. Like he doesn't look very natural. So.
Yeah. Well, I can understand what it is because they're like trying to match the way he ran in the older games, and he's a robot, so he's gonna be stiff. But like it's just odd when everything else in the animation wise is so smooth, and then you have Mega Man running around with a corn cob up his ass.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they could just use a Mega Man 8 that sprites run animation for a reference because it looked really good in that game. So
yeah, well, he did move kind of slow in that game though.
Yeah, it's true, but I just mean like the way his run cycle, like the animation itself.
Oh, I get you.
Really nice. So,
yeah, I got you.
But yeah, overall, I mean, the graphics and the presentation does look. It still looks pretty early, and in some of the screenshots, it looks like there's actually untextured objects in the background. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's a whole year away from.
So they have a lot of time to polish it. So I'm not really worried about that at all, but it is very clear to me that some of those screenshots are probably even earlier than the footage that we saw in the trailer. So
I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, honestly, I kind of think that this game was had a very rushed development from the get-go. Like they probably just started on it barely earlier this year.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But, I mean, the physics look really on point. I mean, the way he moves and the way he jumps and all that, it looks very authentic. Like, they definitely did their research on how Mega Man should feel to play, or at least that's what it looks like. So
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it is important for that, so I can understand.
Yeah.
I would argue that, if anything, the most important thing is just the actual feel of the game.
Oh yeah,
rather
for sure.
Than like how he moves, it's just like as it feels like a Mega Man game, then yeah, you're good.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, they did announce that all the X games are being ported too now. So I don't know, maybe we'll see like an X collection or a new one, because the last X collection, when did that came out? When 7 came out, I think.
Man, the last X collection, I think that was like 2005, maybe 2005 sounds about right. Yeah, it was a long time ago. So
yeah, because I remember it had 1 through 6.
Yeah, and then it had Battle and Chase, I think is what it was called. The Mega Man racing
Mega
game.
Man. Yeah, a really shitty Mega Man game.
Yeah,
racing
game. That was terrible. But yeah, I feel like the X collection is getting ported. I do feel like it has to be a collection because who would actually buy X7 on its own?
Nobody would.
So I feel like it would be really odd if they
Well,
price all of them separately.
Yeah, how much the fan base really doesn't like 7, and to an extent 8 as well. I'm surprised that they're even worried about them at all. But
yeah,
I love
sell them
separate. I mean, it is Capcom; they'll do whatever they can to squeeze money out of you. They're the masters of reselling you the same game.
Yeah.
But well, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If anything, it's actually just more interesting that they're all going to be ported, hopefully at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I would hope so. I know, like, I have a Switch. It's going to be really awesome to have all of those games on the go, so
yeah,
I'm excited for that just alone. But I hope that they do a physical release. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I hope they do that, and hopefully they all come out at the same time.
Yeah.
But either way, it's going to be cool having all those games on one system.
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to put it all on one physical disc.
They could easily do that.
I mean, they had 1 through 6 plus an extra game on the GameCube, and those discs are tiny as hell. So
yeah, no, they
had to put Tales of Symphonia on 2 discs just for that console.
Yeah, that's true.
But all right. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so like, what are your, like, based on what we saw, what excited you the most about the trailer?
Honestly, I think just the fact that it actually exists probably excites me more than anything. Because the reality is that, I mean, we've already said this, but like Mega Man's just been dead for so long, and Capcom hadn't really been trying to do anything with him lately, so it just kind of seemed like he was floating out there in the air. So the fact that they're actually trying to put effort into reviving the franchise is actually really cool.
Yeah,
so
and
I think regardless of whether the game is good or bad, we're gonna at least get attention back towards Mega Man and hopefully re-spark new interest.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of new people on this project, so let's say it turns out to be just an alright Mega Man game. Like, I'm willing to forgive that just because these aren't... well, first of all, it's been so long since they've done a new Mega Man game, so they might have to take some time to learn and kind of get back in the groove with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited if this leads to more new Mega Man games. I mean, that's exciting enough for me. So
yeah. As long as it's not like yearly releases like back when it was in the NES days.
yeah, no, that's... I think that's part of the reason to blame why the series started, like, the last few years at least of the franchise's existence, where it kind of went downhill with sales.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I think... I can't remember. Is Keiji Inafune, is he even working on it at all, or is he like has nothing to do with it now?
No, I mean, as far as we know, he has nothing to do with it. In fact, they even said, I watched the entire stream on, what was it, Monday, and they even said in interviews regarding the game that when Inafune initially left Capcom, nobody wanted to step up and take over for Mega Man because no one felt like they could fill his shoes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and it was only just recently that they all just kind of decided that it's time to make a new game finally, It's time to stop, just letting it sit there when there's so many fans demanding a new game. So
yeah. Oh, man. I mean, how many years has... Well, even Capcom themselves had admitted that they've canceled projects all the time. Or was it... like when Legends 3 got canceled, they were like, "Oh, there's not enough fan interest," which was like absolute horseshit. It was probably just they weren't fully fleshed out, and they just were like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm still mad about that. But I mean, who knows?
Well, everybody is, because they had a full playable demo and everything.
Yeah, and they should have released it, but that's a story for another time.
Right.
The thing that excited me most about the trailer, right, like when it went from the 8-bit and he like goes into that 2018 little teleportation thing, and then he goes into the new game and it was HD. That's what made me really excited, because I did not want to see another 8-bit game. I don't mind 8-bit Mega Man. I like the 8-bit games, but Mega Man, what's really exciting is that Mega Man's finally coming into like modern day, you know? Like we're not getting an 8-bit or any kind of, you know, pixel style graphics. It's all very up to date, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted so bad, because I've been waiting for that since the last generation of consoles, really, because there was no console Mega Man games except for 9 and 10, which were just 8-bit. So
right.
So yeah.
Well, and even still, like, if anything, I thought they were just gonna do like 16-bit just to see if like it would work. Because I mean, that's a lot cheaper to do than full 3D rendered graphics, especially the way they look, which they look really good.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly really surprised about that as well.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I mean, they're definitely trying to put as much effort into the end to get people excited about it.
Yeah, like in fact, I think it was just this morning I read an article interviewing the developers and them just giving a few more little tidbits of information. And they've said that they're trying really hard. They really want this to be the best Mega Man game. But they've said it's been a really big challenge just because with there being so many classic Mega Man games, it's hard to really make this one stand out.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things for them is making Robot Masters. It's because, you know, there's been so many.
Yeah.
It's hard to come up with original ideas.
Yeah.
So.
I think they could kind of get away with rehashing some old ones at this point because we haven't seen them in so long. Like, honestly, the Robot Masters are kind of like not even really that big of a deal. For me, it's more about the actual level design than the actual bosses. Because, like, the bosses, you can always just change their patterns, and, you know, no matter what, it'll still be, like, kind of the same fight, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I get what you're saying, though. I will say that the actual, like, character design of the bosses is always cool to me. Like, I think Mega Man 2 and 3 have some of the best of the series, for sure. Because then, like, when I think about games like Mega Man 4 and Mega Man 6, it's hard for me to even remember any of the bosses from those games.
Yeah.
So I think, like, having a good, like, well-designed roster of Robot Masters does help the game kind of stand on its own and be more memorable.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be awesome to see what the boss fights look like in HD now, too, just because, you know, better effects and everything.
Right.
Hope they make it really flashy.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure whatever they do, it's at least going to be worth buying.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not going to try and sit here and be unhopeful about it. I actually really want this to end up really good.
Oh yeah, same here.
So Mega Man's spans across a lot of different franchises and a lot of different entries, you know, iterations of the series. Which one's your favorite one of all of them?
Overall, the X series has always been my favorite.
Yeah. Was that your first introduction to Mega Man? Was the X series, or was there a different one?
Yeah, the first X game on Super Nintendo was actually one of the first games I ever played as a kid. So yeah. That was the one that introduced me into Mega Man. And then that's, you know, where my diehard fan you know, outlook on the series really began, and I was obsessed with Mega Man as a kid, and even as an adult, I still love the series. It's always been my favorite series. So
yeah, well, he's one of those classic characters. It's just like how Sonic Mania brought back a lot of old Sonic fans because now they're getting to see how Sonic can actually really thrive in today's environment still. And I think that's what really a Mega Man 11 kind of brings back a lot of hope for a lot of Mega Man fans like yourself as well.
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
It's like just because he's an old character, and even to an extent Mario Odyssey kind of does this as well. But like the reality is Mario's never been not relevant; he's always been relevant.
Yeah,
you know, Mega Man's been pretty unrelevant for a long time, and same with Sonic. So I think a lot of stuff, like we're seeing like a big revival of all these classic characters and all these old retro icons. You know, we've seen that. Like I said, we saw it with Sonic Mania. We saw that with Castlevania bringing back their own animation series to try and see how that does. So, I mean, that did relatively well, as short as it was. I've talked about that before on this podcast. But
yeah.
Sorry, I heard. Anyway. Shit, what was I going to say? So yeah, we're seeing a lot of resparked interest in that, and I think that's really awesome that now we're getting a lot of stuff that when we were kids that we hoped we could see later for the future. We're actually getting that now.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And I'm hoping that if Mega Man 11 does well enough, with them really weirdly showing a lot of appreciation towards the X series. They even had a whole segment in their stream just talking about how much they love the X series of Mega Man. And with them re-releasing all 8 of the X games, has me hopeful that maybe someday we'll see an X9. And, you know, maybe someday, hopeful thinking, we'll get a Legends 3. I won't get my hopes up too high, but, you know, that would be like my most wanted game, just period. I've waited over a decade for that game. So
yeah, I guess the last one was, what, in 1999? Maybe it was 2001.
I think
whenever Legends 2 was released.
Yeah, I think it was 2000, but I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, at least almost 20 years. So.
Yeah, it's been a long time, yeah.
So, the X series was kind of my first introduction to Mega Man also. I just kind of want to tell this story because I think it's really funny. So, the first Mega Man game I actually ever played was X on the Super Nintendo. That was the first one I ever played, but I didn't know what the game was called when I played it. So, I was at my cousin's house, and he has the game in, and, you know, I just play the game, and all of it, you know, there's this blue robot guy that shoots stuff on the screen. I thought it was the coolest thing ever because, you know, you got the huge, like, especially with X1. X1 has an amazing introduction to not just the game, but Mega Man in general, and like how it's action oriented, very, very fast paced and moving, and, you know, just have a lot of stuff going on. And just like how X himself is kind of a cool character. You can jump on walls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I only ever played like the starting level and I think the snow level with Chill Penguin. Those were the only few levels that I played, but I remember the music very vividly. Obviously, I didn't own the game. I didn't own a Super Nintendo back then, so I didn't get to play very much of it. But it was very stuck in my head. And for a long time, one of the songs, I think it was Boomer Kawanger's stage. I don't know why. This is how dumb I am. The song for some reason sounded to like the Hearts on Fire song from the Rocky soundtrack. So I would purposely listen to that song and think it was like the Sage song from Boomer Kawanger. And then, you know, not until like I actually owned the game way later did I actually find out that this is not even close at all. But
wow.
I was so dumb. I didn't realize that. But Mega Man always stuck out in my head. It's like, you know, so like I never owned any of the games until way later in my life. And the first game I actually owned was Mega Man and Bass on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, really?
And that was the first one that I actually owned, which, you know, obviously isn't really a great starting point to start off with Mega Man.
Oh, yeah.
But I got the game, and I remember it being relatively hard, especially at the end of the game, because it was okay. But, like, I really liked the game, but I knew that I was like, I know this isn't the best Mega Man game. Like, after I'm done playing it, I was like, there has to be something better. You know, people talk about the franchise and a lot because of how great it is. So what else is there for me? So then I get the anniversary collection, and it comes with, you know, all of them on there, and then I actually get to play some of the other ones, and I loved them. You know, I played one, which I didn't like at all. One, I was so bad at it.
It hasn't aged well.
Yeah, I remember like trying to go through and beat all of them. And I think 1, 4, 5, and then that was it. They were the only ones that like I didn't beat because I just got so bored with them. And 1 especially because it was just like so. Like the final levels were so hard, I couldn't beat them at all. Anyway, hold on. Sorry about that. Anyway, so what was your like first like Mega Man game that you actually owned? I mean, obviously you probably said there's the X series, but is that the one that stands out the most to you, or?
Yeah. So the first game I played, like I said earlier, was X for the Super Nintendo, and it was the first Mega Man X game. And so the first game I actually ever played was Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. And after that...
That's not a bad game to start on. So.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. So we'd usually go to like Blockbuster and places like that. and rent games every weekend or so. And one weekend I finally rented a game called Megaman X because I saw the cover and it looked really cool. I thought X looked awesome. My favorite color has always been blue, and so when I looked at the back of the box and I saw like him in game and how he's all blue and everything, that's just what made him resonate with me initially. So I rented the game, played it, just immediately fell in love with it. I mean, like you said, the beginning stage in that game is just awesome. It's one of the best starter stages to really any platformer ever made, I would say. And the music, just everything about it was awesome. And so pretty soon after that, we went to a place called Game Exchange, and every so often our parents would let us buy like a used game because it was a lot cheaper than buying stuff new. And Mega Man X was actually the first game I ever picked out to buy, like, for myself. So that was the first game that I ever personally owned, because Super Mario World was just what our parents bought for me and my brothers whenever we got a Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the first game I actually got myself was Mega Man X, and I still have my original cartridge of that game as well. That's always just had a special place in my heart. And ever since then, I mean, there's like my first introduction to the classic series was kind of like you with the Anniversary Collection. Actually, no, I take that back. The first Mega Man game I actually played was Mega Man 8 on the PS1. Okay. And then when Anniversary Collection came out, I actually got that on the GameCube, so like the buttons were swapped, which was really hard to get used to, but yeah, I was just like you. I remember playing the first original Mega Man game and not liking it, and I still don't like it very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the one that's aged the worst out of all of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure, without a doubt. I respect it for it starting the series, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean,
and it has, like, memorable Robot Masters, too, but it's just, like, so much of the design elements and everything, it's just not very fun to play, so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason Mega Man 2 became the iconic Mega Man game rather than Mega Man 1.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I've really liked all of the Mega Man series except Star Force. That was kind of where... That's like a gray area for me.
Yeah.
Like I played the first Star Force game, and I beat it, and I just never went back to it. So
yeah. I think, isn't Star Force like the knockoff of... or was it the sequel to the Battle Network ones? Or is it like
it's in the same universe as Battle Network, and it's a lot like Battle Network, except it has a few different mechanics, and it's in 3D instead of... Or at least the battles are in 3D instead of 2D.
Yeah.
It's not horrible, it's just kind of... it's kind of mediocre, I guess.
Yeah. I never played that one, just because... I've only ever played the first Battle Network, and it's okay. It's just really drawn out, so you just get kind of bored of it after a while.
Yeah, I mean, the first Battle Network is probably the worst one of that series.
Oh, really?
It's, that's pretty mediocre as well, I'd say.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I just started on a bad one then.
Yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of the Battle Network games, did you ever play Network Transmission?
Yeah, I still own that game, actually.
Okay. I actually, so this is kind of a good point, is like, I was going to ask you, what do you think one of the more underrated Mega Man games is? And I was going to mention that the Network Transmission game is pretty underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I'd say either that. I don't know how underrated Command Mission is. I really like Mega Man X Command Mission.
The RPG, yeah.
Yeah. Really, both of those, I would say, are pretty underrated. But, yeah.
I think what people went in expecting something different and didn't get what they wanted. That's why they were kind of, like, not really enjoyed nowadays. To be fair, though, Network Transmission is also really hard at the end of the game. Like, unreasonably hard.
It is.
At the end. But as far as, like, the way the gameplay goes, it's almost like a progression of, like, how the original Mega Man series could have been. And a newer entry, because it's very, like, open-ended. You got kind of room to explore a lot of places.
Yeah.
And granted, you get, like, it works like Battle Network, where you get the chips that you have to use and stuff like that, which I think that system is actually really awful.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that really is a detriment to the game. But overall, like, you get to upgrade Mega Man, you get to explore the area, you get to interact with all the other characters rather than just sitting there fighting them. You get feedback and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that's something that we could have experienced if they maybe implemented that more in Mega Man, the classic series. But as a standalone thing, I think it works really well.
Yeah, I enjoy that game even despite its very obvious flaws. It's still, it's an alright game. I don't hate it as much as so many other people seem to.
Yeah.
And it has a really good soundtrack too. So
well, yeah, especially the Command Mission. I think I remember the soundtrack out of Command Mission more than I do Network Transmission.
Yeah, same here.
But I mean, I think that's just because the X series has more intense tracks. Usually it's more fast paced, because that's the nature of the X series compared to the classic series. And that's usually why they stand out a little bit more for me.
Yeah, and the X series has a bit more of a serious tone as well. So
yeah, well, as serious as a Mega Man game can get.
Well, yeah.
That's the one problem I have with the Mega Man games is the story is it's always the same in all the games, and I guarantee you Mega Man 11, you know who the villain's going to be, right? Everybody knows it's going to be Dr. Wowie.
Yeah, it'll be Wily. They started to change it up with X towards the end, but usually it would.
Well, even in
X8,
it was still Sigma at the end, right?
Well, at the very end it was Lumine, but Sigma did show up for one fight, and then he was apparently annihilated for good. So, I don't know. I would like to get an X9 just to continue the story, since X8 does end on a cliffhanger if you get the true ending.
Oh yeah, because where Axel has the Lumine hits his chip or something, and then no, now he's gonna be Sigma or something,
Yeah, it's like he's infected with something. So, be nice to see where that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, I think the Mega Man Zero games are really good too.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was gonna say. Is of all the best franchises, I think the Zero series is the best one of all of them.
Oh, is that your favorite one?
Well, no, it's not my favorite one, but it's my favorite series of the Mega Man series. Zero series is probably my favorite.
All right. Yeah, that's a really good series. Really, really good.
Yeah, it's I mean, of all of the Zero games, they all play pretty much the same. But I think the Zero series has a lot of what was it called? I don't know. Anyway, it's just a lot of difficulty, and that's what deters a lot of people from it.
Oh yeah, they are very hard games, especially if you're going for an S rank. God, that is a challenge.
You know what's funny though is so you, even if you get an S rank in the game, in the first game you had to have an S rank just to get the chips and the bonus abilities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no reason for it at all, because you can just power your way up to be an absolute god, and it won't make a difference at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So I didn't realize that though. When I was a kid, and I was like, if I can't get this stuff, then I don't want to use this stuff. So I'd always have the smallest health bar possible, and you take 2 hits and then you die. It was just oh my god, the bosses were insanely hard because you couldn't, especially in the first Zero game, if you didn't level up your weapons right away, you couldn't even beat the first boss in time. Because I think the first boss is the Falcon, I think, or whatever, that he's in the trash compactor, and he's gonna crush all the fellow resistance.
Yeah, it's members. The bird guy. He was a bird, right? Not a bat.
Yeah, he was some type of bird. I think he was a falcon, but I could be wrong. But I remember that if you didn't beat him fast enough, the robots would get crushed, and you fail the mission automatically.
Yeah,
and it's just well, if you didn't level up your weapons, you can't do anything to him, because you can hit him once, and then you have to wait for his invincibility frames in order to hit him again.
Yep. I do remember 04 probably being my least favorite of that series.
Really?
Even that one, I liked all of them. It's just 04, I don't know. Something just seemed off about it. Maybe I need to go back and play that one. It's been a while. That's the one I played the least out of that series. But
I think 04 is the one I can go back to the easiest. of all of them. And actually, 04 probably is my favorite one because it plays most traditionally like a traditional Mega Man game, where you have the option to go to because normally through all the Zero games you have to pick a mission and you only get like a choice of like 2 or 3 missions, and then you got to go on to the next set. Well, in this one you get a choice of all 8 of them right off the bat, so it kind of plays more traditionally like that. Granted, it's still a Zero game, so it's like kind of hard, but I think that they got the difficulty just right for 04, where it's like it's a great introduction to the series, and it's also a great finishing off to it, as poorly as the ending is where Zero dies at the end. I think that's really dumb, but it's probably more like it's kind of like what happened with the X series, where like Keiji Inafune was like, okay, we're done with the X series, so this is the ending for it, and then we're gonna move on to the next set. And then they were like, well, no, we want you to make more. So, it's kind of like how X6 was like not really intended to be there, and then it just kind of like had to half-ass the story. And 04 is kind of like, well, KG was like, all right, well, I don't want to make any more of the Zero series, so I'm just gonna kill Zero. And what are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly. Now I'm thinking about X6. I really don't like that one.
Oh yeah, X6 is the worst one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. X7 is pretty bad too.
Yeah, but at least X7 is playable. Like 6, you can't. It's so hard. You can barely play the game.
It really is terrible. X6 and X7 are, they can both burn to the ground for all I care.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of getting off track from like the classic Mega Man series because that's like the big deal right now. So. Obviously, from the trailer footage, we've seen that Mega Man is going to have his new abilities, or from the Robot Master and stuff like that. And it also looks like the Robot Masters are going to change the way that he looks, and more than just his color scheme. We saw that he had like the huge forehead or like hard hat or something, whatever, for the ability that they primarily showed. And do you think a lot of that has to do with influence from Mighty Number 9, or do you think that maybe it was just like something they thought was cool?
What it actually reminds me of is Battle Network. I know I've seen a lot of people making the Mighty Number 9 comparison, but what it actually reminds me of is Battle Network, because that was the first Mega Man series to do something like that, where you take the different forms of bosses, so like you might have a Guts form and things like that. So that's what it really reminds me of, and I do really like it. I think it's really cool. It doesn't change his entire look, but yeah, I think it's a nice touch. It really helps it stand out a bit more. Yeah.
If anything, and I kind of wish they would play more with this, is like, so Mega Man's supposed to like take on the abilities of, the Robot Master that he defeated. I think it would be actually kind of cool if he acted more like the Robot Master that he defeated. So say like he defeated Gutsman. He got the Gutsman ability, which is just like, the big arm, or where you can pick up stuff and throw it. I think it would be really cool if like, Mega Man became slower and like a little bit like stronger strength wise, like maybe his like busters did a little more damage or something like that, and kind of adjusted the way the gameplay is, so that you're not just constantly, so that you're like kind of using a lot of the stuff to maybe like solve some puzzles throughout the area, instead of just, here's an ability, you can use it in this section, and that's kind of it, because that's usually what a lot of the Robot Master abilities are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could be cool. I don't know if they'll do it. I mean, just judging off the gameplay, it doesn't look like they are.
No. I think that would be like a nice progression for the Mega Man series, but it's probably something we'll never see. Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Did you know that in Japan there is actually a subtitle for Mega Man 11? It's Gears of Fate. Did you hear anything about the new gear system in the game? Like, did you notice the spinning gears abilities in the trailer at all?
No, the only new ability that I really noticed that wasn't in the classic series was like the super mode that he goes in at the end of the trailer, where there's like some type of meter, and I don't know what it does, because it just kills the boss instantly, and they kind of don't really show it. But it looks like it might just be like, in X series, where it was like the Giga Attack and stuff like that. I'm thinking that's what it might be kind of like, but I don't really know.
Well, if you analyze the trailer, you can actually see whenever he activates that ability, he starts rapid firing his charge shot. So, and then it just kills the boss really quickly.
Okay.
And whenever he activates that ability, the gears that are under his health bar start spinning. And we've seen in other screenshots that they released that there's like a blue gear and a red gear. And it seems like you can activate them separately or at the same time. And it seems like the blue gear will give Mega Man a speed boost when you activate it. And the red gear, it's hard to tell just because the screenshot, like it actually does look like it might be some sort of Giga attack, but it's really hard to tell.
Okay.
Maybe it's a boost to his defense, who knows. But in the trailer, you can actually see at one point there is a gear pickup laying on the ground in one of the stages. So
okay.
I don't know if that's like some sort of customizable feature for Mega Man, and he has a bunch of different abilities and gears that he can equip, or if grabbing that gear just simply activates one of the gears for use in the level. It's really hard to say this early since Capcom hasn't specifically said anything about it themselves.
Right.
But yeah, just the fact that it has the subtitle Gears of Fate in Japan makes it
none of the
pretty clear.
subtitles have ever come out in the U.S., so...
Yeah. It just makes me think like that's their whole like new big push
gimmick
in this game is the whole gear system.
Yeah.
And we also saw that the bolts are back as well, so it's safe to assume that there's going to be a shop of some kind. So,
yeah. Well, the shop's been in there ever since 7, so it'd be kind of hard for them to not implement that now.
Yeah, and I've always liked the shop, so I think it's good they're bringing that back.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned Mighty Number 9 earlier and how like maybe it had a little bit of influence on it. Do you think that the creation of Mighty Number 9 and Keiji Inafune obviously Inafune leaving had a huge effect on Capcom even making a Mega Man game, but do you think that like the failure of Mighty Number 9 and how badly it was received had an effect on Mega Man 11 even being made earlier than this? Like, do you think maybe they put it on delay because of that?
I don't know. It's really hard to say, but yeah, I really don't know. Like, if Mighty Number 9 was more successful, I don't know if that would have had an impact in any way, but I mean, that game sucks, so I'm just glad that this, from what we've seen of this game so far, this already looks more promising than that game was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mighty Number 9 was, the game that was if you Google Kickstarter failure, that's you'll find Mighty Number 9. Because it was just, they lied so much about what the game was going to be, and I mean,
it was a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you had pepperoni pizza explosions. It was so bad. But
what happened to that cartoon, man, and that live action movie that they were supposed to make?
Honestly, I think if they had actually gone through and made the actual cartoon, that it might have been a little bit better received. Because it's kind of like how Sonic Boom is. Sonic Boom is like obviously pandered as like one of the worst Sonic games ever, but the actual cartoon, people enjoy it, and people love to hate on the cartoon as well. So now it's kind of like become this. They've taken the joke of Sonic Boom being bad, and now it's kind of like more well received because of it, because people just love to hate on it. So, well, it's kind of like one of those back-asswards things. Obviously, the trailer for Mighty Number 9 for Mega Man Mega Man 11, its presentation, or at least just up and coming, had a lot of influence from Sonic Manias of just coming up and saying, "Hey, we're celebrating Sonic." In the same way they're like, now we're celebrating Mega Man. Do you think that Capcom had a lot of influence from Sonic Mania's reception to create the game?
I don't know. It depends on when the development started for this game, but because Sonic Mania, that was only announced last year, right? Like sometime like in the fall.
But it'd been in development for a long time.
Yeah, but the public didn't know about it until fall last year, I think.
Was the I think 25th anniversary stream for Sonic?
Yeah, I just can't seem to remember when that was, but I mean, it's possible, maybe. But I really think the big reason why is just because it's the 30th anniversary coming up, and I would have been convinced that Mega Man is dead if they wouldn't have done a new game right now. You know, this is like it's already been 7 years. That's already a really long time to do nothing with an IP. And sure, they had the Legacy collections, but those don't really have a lot of influence on pushing its popularity any higher because it's just re-releases. So,
and even still, like the Legacy collection had a lot of stuff that was missing from even the Anniversary collection back in the day. Like at least the Anniversary collection had 1 through 8 on top of a couple of bonus games. And like the Legacy collection, you didn't even you just had 1 through 6, and then maybe some artwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, the only really positive thing I can say about the Legacy collection is just that they are very good ports, very, very authentic in how they feel to play, which unfortunately, I didn't mind the Anniversary collection, especially when I was a kid, but going back to it, you definitely feel that it's kind of a shoddy port of like all of those games, but they're playable. It's just...
Yeah. I think the controller has a lot more of an issue with that than anything, though, because like I have the GameCube version, and obviously the D-pad on the GameCube controller sucks ass. So like playing a game like that with a joystick is really hard.
Yeah, it's definitely not the way you would want to play it.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, that's...
Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I was going to say, so like I kind of feel like maybe Sonic Mania did have a lot of influence on maybe reviving Mega Man back. Because, I mean, just the presentation of it coming up like that alone was a big deal, and is like you can tell it was very inspired by Sega's stream for that stuff. But I also think that a lot of influence for Mega Man to come back was also due to Mega Man being in Smash 4, because that was one of the biggest deals about Smash Brothers for Wii U was that Mega Man is going to be in the game. And people were so excited for that.
Yeah, I remember the E3 when that was announced. That was actually the top viewed story from E3. So,
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you would think that would have rocked their brains and said, oh, wow, people really care about Mega Man still. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just happy. I'm happy. I have no complaints, obviously, aside from the running animation, but that's just a nitpick. Right. like if the game came out and it still had that running animation, I wouldn't care. As long as it's fun to play.
I don't see it as that big of a deal.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
I mean, it's like I said, it's like I get it, he's a robot and he's like supposed to have stiff movements, but it doesn't. It's not supposed to look like you're gliding across the floor. Yeah. So, which one of like all the classic series is your favorite one?
It's hard. My top 3 would be 3, 8, and 10. But I think overall, I would probably pick Mega Man 3. Yeah,
I would probably say 3 is one of the best ones. If not 3, then I would probably pick 7. Because 7 is like a huge leap from NES Mega Man to Super Nintendo Mega Man. That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love 3 just because you get not just 8 Robot Masters, you get 8 on top of an extra 8, which was the previous ones. And then on top of that, you get like 4 final boss fights throughout the whole game, because it's just such a huge spanning game. It's really it's really the first one that kind of introduced a lot of like story for Mega Man.
Yeah, and you had Proto Man for the first time. You had Rush for the first time. And Mega Man had his slide in that game, right? That was the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time the slide was introduced.
And also, I want to point out real quick, I'm very, very happy that they have the slide and the charge shot in Mega Man 11.
Oh, yeah. Instead of how...
I was disappointed that 9 and 10 didn't have the charge shot, and did 10 have the slide? I'm forgetting.
No,
it didn't have the slide either. So, yeah, that always bugged me.
Because they gave it to Proto Man. They gave it to Proto Man.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really, really happy to see Mega Man with all of his abilities back.
Yeah.
Then he had Rush in there. Rush looks fantastic. And we also saw in some screenshots they released, because in the trailer we only saw the Rush coil, And in some of the screenshots, they did show Rush Jet is also in there, which is safe to assume, but we do have confirmation on that. So,
we'll probably see. If not just those two, we'll probably see. What's the other one that always pops up? Rush.
The submarine, or
yeah. I was gonna say probably the marine, or actually, I guess that would be really cool if they had Rush Marine back and like maybe an entire entire level that's underwater, kind of like what they did in 9 with Splash Woman's level.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Sorry. So, obviously, the story isn't really the high point of the series. Do you think the story kind of like rehashes itself too much, or do you think it's like still okay now?
I think it's okay. They mix it up every now and then, but then of course, like usually it always ends up being Dr. Wily at the end, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a series like Mega Man, that's fine. It would be hard to make a new villain, especially for the classic series, aside from Dr. Wily, that really lives up to how memorable he is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he's an icon now, I guess.
So, I think it's fine. And I mean, when if we're talking about like the story across the whole span of the entire franchise, there is actually a lot there, but I would say that the classic series has probably the most basic story. You know, you have some interesting elements in there, like Proto Man and things like that, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think the story's fine.
Yeah.
They did talk a little bit in the stream how with the first Mega Man X game, how they were all in awe, like the first time they played it, because it was the first time that they saw that like the Mega Man universe expanding, and that like when they first got the first armor part in the game and Dr. Light popped up, they're like, oh, you know, this is connected to the classic series.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe someday we'll get to the point where they'll make a classic series a classic series game that kind of wraps up the story of the classic series and helps it tie together to the X series, because that's something that I personally have always wanted. I want to know what happens at the end of classic that then connects to X. I'm not sure if we'll ever get it, and if we don't, that's fine, but I've always been curious about that.
Yeah. You're not the only one that's ever wanted that, by the way. I'm pretty sure the entire fan base wants that. Because as much as the story gets rehashed a lot, I think they could get away with it if they made like a single title that wasn't a numbered like a number in the Mega Man series. It was just a single entity that connects the two. You know, it was like, say it was like Mega Man: The Final Days or something stupid like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it just connects Mega Man into the X series, and then even still, because the way the timeline goes, it goes to the original Mega Man series, and then there's the split from into the X into the well, I guess it goes to Mega Man and the Battle Network series are like starting off in 2 parallel dimensions or something stupid like that.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Network and Star Force aren't even in the same continuity, so that's just a separate universe entirely.
Yeah. So it goes like the original Mega Man, and then into the X series, and then into the Zero series, and then from the Zero series into the ZX series, and then the ZX all the way into Legends, which Legends takes place like thousands of years after, so it doesn't really matter anyway. You don't need anything to connect to that. But obviously, if we just had like some type of game that connected all of the series together, that would definitely help a lot as far as the story goes for at least the fans, because now you're getting some type of actual relation between them all, instead of just saying, hey, we're just going to reference some stuff from the previous, you know, entries and stuff like that. At least with Zero and ZX, you did get some connection. You still don't understand how the biometals are made. They just kind of show up, but like it is explained like how the like biometals became about, I guess, or I guess I shouldn't really say created, just how the biometals were found and discovered. So
yeah, I'd say like the Zero to ZX series is probably the most well-made connection that they did. I mean, there's obviously some blank holes, or I should say just holes in the plot where like in between those series that they could fill, I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be shocked to ever see a new ZX game, as much as I know some fans would like to see it. But
I would love to see a ZX3 because they left ZX Advent on a huge cliffhanger.
Oh,
and
yeah,
never did
I know.
anything with it.
mm-hmm.
That makes me mad even to this day because it's like, I was like, okay, I can accept ZX Advent being the last game. Like they just have 2 entries and that's it. I can accept that. But if you're gonna throw in like a cliffhanger at the end of the story, like you're gonna actually make a 3rd one and then don't actually make a 3rd one, that's what makes me mad.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I would love to see a 3rd one. I would be surprised if we ever did see it.
Yeah, I just love the whole, open-ended, kind of like Metroid and like Castlevania games where you have freedom to move about and stuff like that. I love that about the ZX series.
Yeah, and ZX Advent was great. I mean, I like both of them, but I really loved Advent. So
Yeah.
I mean, who knows going forward? I know some people would like to see Battle Network. Man, a Battle Network game in HD, I would love to see. I really don't think it'll happen, but the Battle Network series was huge in Japan, so
Yeah.
that could be some pretty good motivation for them to bring it
It was
back.
big enough for them to make a TV show based off of it. So
Yeah, they did TV show, and they did a movie that was in theaters in Japan. So
Oh, I didn't know that. Was that live action or was it
no, it was animated by the same people who did the cartoon. So
Okay. Live action Battle Network.
oh god,
That'd be great.
by great you mean horrible, right? Well, actually, that actually could work in live action, I guess, since
It'd probably
Mega
be
Man
like,
and all of them are still
yeah,
digital.
it'd probably be like they'd do something shitty like with like Tron or something, like how they did Tron Legacy. They'd probably do something shitty like that.
They probably would. We are getting a live action Mega Man movie though.
Yeah, we're getting a live action Sonic movie too, so who knows if those are gonna be good.
I hope they both come out.
They'll
the
go
same
about
year.
as well as the live action Mario Bros movie.
Yeah, probably. Well, the Mega Man movie has people involved with it who did the Death Note Netflix movie, so I have no hope for whatever comes out of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too hopeful then.
Oh, I'm not. I actually kind of hope it's bad though. Like as a big Mega Man fan, I'll know like every single little thing they do wrong. So I'll probably laugh a lot at how bad it is. I mean, it's a live action Mega Man movie. I already don't have any hope for it.
Well, it's kind of like what they did with Dragon Ball Z, and they did the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, and that movie was garbage. I actually really kind of like it though, because they do something different with the story. It's not just rehashing the same shit over and over, which Dragon Ball is really notorious for that.
Oh yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, the movie was actually just stupid in general though. Like none of the stuff made any sense that was going on.
I remember when I initially saw trailers for that movie, and I thought the guy who was playing Goku was the singer from Green Day. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just remember his hair
but-
being retarded.
Yeah, it looked. God, that movie looked so bad. I've never actually seen it. I've seen scenes from it, and that's it.
Oh, really? I went and saw it in theaters, and
oh man,
because I was actually pretty excited for it, because I was like, oh, sweet, this looks awesome, and then I go watch it, and I was like, that wasn't great.
yeah.
I was like, it was okay, but it wasn't great.
Well, man, I don't even know what else to say. I'm really, really happy that Mega Man is back. It's the 30th anniversary. He deserved to have a game for so long.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The fans, man, so many games were canceled. It's so nice. If this game gets canceled, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. If this game is canceled, I just give up on this series. I'll love all the old games, but no.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. I don't.
If the game gets canceled, Mega Man will be officially dead. As a franchise, he will just be dead.
Yeah,
so much disappointment that'll be bringing, not just to the fans, but just like to the gaming community in and of itself. Because it's like you're gonna bring up all these like hopeful things for like people have been asking for years. You know, and it's just like what happens with Legends 3. You know, people were so excited for it, and then you kill any of their hopes and dreams that they have for something that they've been wanting.
Yep, I totally agree. I guess one last thing I want to bring up about Mega Man 11 is do you think there's any chance of more playable characters, kind of like 9 had Proto Man as DLC, and then 10 had Proto Man actually with the game, and then Base was DLC?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if they're not there from the start that they could be added later on, or would that be something that you would even want to see?
I would hope that they're included. If at least Proto Man, maybe Base, if Base isn't like a villain in the game, which I hope Base is actually a villain in the game more than he is like a playable character.
Yeah.
I would hope that at least Proto Man is playable with the game. It'll probably, it's Capcom, so they'll probably have him as DLC that you got to pay for.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would really prefer not to have that stuff, because it's just like, at least give us something other, for waiting so long for that. It's kind of just like, and even still, it's not even really like you're changing that much, because Mega Man and Proto Man don't really have like that big of difference. The only difference was in 9 and 10 was that Proto Man could slide and then charge up shots. But like Mega Man can already do that. They just didn't give him that ability in the game.
Yep.
So it's just like really just more of a cosmetic thing more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like in this game, if they do bring Proto Man and Base back, that this could be an opportunity to give even more differences to them, since Mega Man already has his slide and charge shot in this game.
Yeah, well, Base actually plays the most different of all the Mega Man characters.
Oh yeah, he definitely does, and I love Base. I would love to see him playable. But I agree. If they do add, let's say they only keep the one more playable character, I could see it being Proto Man, and I could also see it being Roll. And I love Roll's new design, by the way. I really like her sleek new design. Mm-hmm. Same with Mega Man. I like his redesign. They're not like extremely different compared to their original designs, but yeah, I like their new sleek looks. Kind of reminds me of Mega Man 8, which I love the art style in that game. So
yeah,
but
well, 8 was just very animation inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Very smooth animation, as jarring as some of the stuff was in the game, though.
Yeah, I know a lot of
like environmental effects that didn't look like they fit.
Yeah, I do like that game though. I think it's the best, at least up until this game. I thought it was the best looking Mega Man game as far as sprite work went.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean it's exciting. I hope it's not DLC, but like you said, it's Capcom. So if they do extra characters, it will probably be DLC. It would also be cool to get extra levels as DLC, or maybe like challenges or something like that.
Yeah, kind of like what they did in 9 and 10, where they had like the what is it, special stages.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Obviously, I'd like it to be just on the game disc, not DLC. But
yeah, well, it'll be on the disc. You'll just have to pay for it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Man, it's really surreal, because it feels like this isn't real life. I feel like I'm just stuck in a dream right now, where I'm talking to you about Mega Man 11, and in a few minutes I'll wake up and be like, man, that was a good dream. If only Mega Man would come back one day. But no, this is actually happening, and I've been waiting so many years for Mega Man to come back, and it looks good. I'm glad that it doesn't look like crap. Because that was always a fear of mine as well, is that...
Yeah, well, I think if they'd done the 8-bit style again, people would have been really mad.
I would have been disappointed. I really would have. I would have at least been slightly content that they're doing a new game, but I would have been more disappointed overall, just because, I mean, we don't need more, like, nostalgia pandering, Like, bring it... Like, move the series forward, not keep it in the past. Let's move it forward, and that's exactly what they're doing, and I couldn't be happier with that. Yeah, just complete happiness on my end.
Yeah. So one last thing before we wrap things up. Is there any, like, huge memories of, like, Mega Man that you've had, like... Not with the games, but outside of the games, there's any like big memories of Mega Man that you have as the series, or just anything in general with it?
I mean,
This doesn't
yeah.
have to be related to the games. It could be like the TV show and stuff like that, or just anything.
Well, man, that TV show is hilarious. Um, well, I do remember there's one thing that always sticks out in my mind, and that's one of my best friends, Drew, and you know who Drew is.
Mm-hmm.
On the anniversary collection, do you remember the Power Battle and Power Fighter games, like the arcade games?
Yeah, the arcade games, and I think I've played the physical versions of them as well.
Oh yeah,
but obviously, like the disc version is the way to go for it.
Well, me and my friend Drew, we used to play those a lot because it was the only way we could really do any kind of co-op Mega Man game.
Mm-hmm.
And we became so good at the game that we could actually play the game without even looking at the screen, which sounds ridiculous, and I know it sounds like complete bullshit, but it's not. We could play the game without even looking at the screen. That one time, we had Wavebird GameCube controllers, so one day we just turned on the game and we're like, let's see if we can beat through this game without even being anywhere near the TV. So we went out in the backyard of my house and just sat there and played the game without even looking at the screen. Then when we came back, we beat it, and it was like, wow, can't believe we did all that. Yeah, I mean, we played that game a lot. So that's a really good memory. And then regarding the TV show, I remember one time I bought a DVD collection of all the Ruby Spears Mega Man cartoon, which is really corny, but it's funny. It's so corny that it's just funny to watch.
Well, what's funny about the TV show is because like the first time I saw the TV show, I'd already played X1. I thought Roll, like I didn't know anything about like the classic Mega Man characters. I thought X was like the same characters. I didn't know any better. Yeah. I thought Roll was Zero, and I was like,
oh my god.
I was like, why isn't Zero doing anything? Why is he just standing there?
Yeah, why is he vacuuming?
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought that DVD collection, and then I remember sitting around with my brothers, and then our good friend Will Reynolds, who you also know, and we just would just sit around for hours just laughing at that show, and I don't know, just a lot of good memories with, even outside of the games, just bonding with friends over the series. It was actually one of my really good friends that introduced me to the Battle Network series. The first one I played was 2. And he was obsessed with those games, and so he let me borrow the game, and I played it, and I wouldn't say I fell in love with it, but I did really like it. So yeah, just, I mean, it's weird because most of the friends I've ever had have always been fans of Mega Man. Like anytime they'd come over to my house and see all my Mega Man games, they'd be like, oh man, you got Mega Man? Yeah, let's just play that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, I've never met anyone who's a gamer myself. Like, I'm sure there's people who don't like Mega Man, of course.
Right.
But it's just really weird how I've had the luck of every person that I've met and been friends with does like Mega Man.
Yeah.
So it's really like, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead. No, you finish.
Well, I was just going to say it's really nice to actually have a new game now. Like, because I don't think Capcom realized how many fans are out there, even as adults now. I mean, people are getting really excited about there being a new game. So if you're a Mega Man fan, now's the time to come out and say it, you know?
Right. I mean, Mega Man's just like, it's just like classic Mario, and even to this day, Mario's still relevant. But like, there's never been somebody that said like, I don't like Mario. You know, most people pretty much like it. Mega Man's kind of the same way. Almost everybody enjoys the games that they play where he's in it. I mean, obviously, if you started off on like, you know, like I did, where you played Mega Man at base, you might think it was okay. You didn't think anything much of it. But I can't think of a single Mega Man game where it's just like, it's so terrible, like it's just nothing, like it's not enjoyable at all. Like most of them are pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd say a good like around 90% of the series is good. You just there's just a few standout flops, like of course Battle and Chase, and then X6 and 7. That's really about it.
If you started on X6, I feel bad for you.
Yeah, so do I, man. That game does have its fans though, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, X6, I think maybe the fourth Mega Man game I played, because I remember I was at my neighbor's house and he rented it, and we were playing it, and I remember the game was just like so hard. I think I beat maybe one boss, which was like the grasshopper guy, who was like super easy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then every other enemy I just couldn't beat in the game.
Yeah, it's. I remember I actually bought that game from Sam's Club.
Oh jeez. I think that's where I got Mega Man and Bass, was at Sam's.
Really?
Yeah.
I just remember playing X6 for the first time and being like, "Wow, this is way too hard." And I eventually I did beat it, and I've never beat it again since then. I've only beat it once, and that's because every time I come back to it, I remember why I hate that game so much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I beat it once with Zero, because like if you get Zero early enough in the game, you give him all the abilities. He's pretty much the best character to play as, because X just absolutely sucks in the game, and the armors that he gets are terrible. But I beat it with Zero, and the final boss was so hard, because if you're playing as Zero, you pretty much have to be in his face the whole time. And the way his attacks work is, it's like, well, they spawn around him, so it's like you hit him while you're getting hit. It's stupid.
It's such a tedious boss fight. It really is. It was not designed well.
Yeah. So one quick, what I said before was like, what's your most, or like a memory, one of your fondest memories of the Mega Man series? This is the last story I'm gonna say, and then we can finish wrapping it up. But real quick, this is just gonna show you how autistic I am when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I played Mega Man Extreme 2 on the Game Boy Color. I remember my neighbor had that game, and I borrowed it, and I played it a lot when I was in middle school. And that was really the first like X game that I ever actually finished. Which, have you ever played Extreme 2?
Yeah, I played both of those.
Okay, so you know how the game works. Extreme 2 is actually really fun for like Mega Man on the go. I bought it again on the 3DS recently, or not recently, like a couple years ago when it got released on it, just to play through it again, just to see if I remembered it was as good as I remember. It wasn't. Because like you have to double tap to dash and stuff like that. But back then I didn't really care. So we had a project when I was in middle school for my English class, and we had to write an essay on like this alien character that we had to make up. And it had to be like an original character, just make things, and just you had to flesh out who they were and like things like that. Pretty much everybody in the class did like like a Martian style stuff like that. And then there's me, the autistic kid sitting in the corner, who says Mega Man X is my original alien character. I literally just wrote down that he was an alien robot, and then that was it. And I somehow got through all that shit, and the teacher still gave me a good grade on it, because I guess she didn't realize it. Yeah. But I don't know why when I was a kid I thought that was a good idea. And like now, obviously, if you gave me that question nowadays, I would actually come up with something original. But back then when I was a little kid, I was already like shy, and like it was just, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I was so dumb. So now I'm not as autistic. Now I just make Mega Man OCs. But, anyway. So that's just how I thought it was kind of funny. It was just something funny I thought I'd bring up as for something that I thought of Mega Man. When I think of Mega Man, I think of, that really terrible memory really terrible essay I did when I was in middle school. And then I also think of maybe some of the games.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you have left to say?
Not really. I hope the game turns out great, and I hope Capcom continues to make even more Mega Man games. Yeah. I'm still pretty excited. It sucks that we have to wait a whole year for the game, but we can deal with that. Yeah. At least it's not like 2 or 3 years away.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me on the Nerd Out Podcast, everybody. I was joined by Alex. If you guys can give him a follow on Twitch. He streams every now and then. It's at Data Pirates. Do you have the Data Pirates as the link tag for it? Or yeah, it's fine. I'll just get it off the description.
Yeah, we also have a YouTube channel as well.
Okay. I'll put the link for that in there too.
All right.
So feel free to give him a follow if you guys enjoy all the content that he has to come, and then some of the more of the podcasts that I have later in the future. So, all right. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining me.
Yep. See you guys later.